Later on, when you advance your skills as an intermediate DDR player, you're going to be exposed to a lot of surprises to what DDR throws at your face. Like, pah! Yo, my way, like, I don't know anymore. Like, yo, hey, hey, hey. Such things like a rainbow nation of arrows, i.e., more notes to learn, like the 8th notes, the 16th note, the 24th notes, the 32th notes, and the rainbow nishini. The importance of timing for better scoring, understanding the options table in deeper concepts to take high advantages for outperforming your gameplays on DDR charts, new patternings that you have not yet seen, but soon you will, and etc. Today's video will be focusing on one technique which belongs to the patterning section. Ladies and gentlemen, I represent you. Drum rolls. Crossovers are a type of a patterning style which instructs or forces you, the player, to move your body away, facing straight towards the screen, and instantaneously forming your body to create a twisting position at a particular angle for both of your feet to be able to hit certain panels consecutively. This pattern is inevitable when you first get introduced to them on intermediate levels in DDR, because you'll find this pattern in almost all DDR charts as you keep on progressing on upper DDR levels. If you're in your very early stages on your crossover progression, you'd be familiar with crossovers like this. The foot that is swinging over would generally hit the left and the right arrows, whilst your other foot would be hitting either the up and or the down arrows. This is still applicable regardless of which direction your body faces due to which arrow between the left and the right panel did you start off the crossover. But as you progress through DDR levels onwards, you will experience and see different structures of crossovers in which increase their intensity on execution and complexity than what your very early stages of crossovers would generally give you. Usually, a technique called double step or double stepping, doesn't matter, can be quite a handy tool for players in their early stages of crossover studies, and also for experienced players to take advantage on crossovers alone, or even with intertwined techniques of crossovers during a gameplay, such as MA, Marvelous Attack. But warning, double stepping shouldn't be used as a habit, like a getaway, to avoid learning crossovers on how they are supposed to be studied and executed precisely. Basically, don't use double stepping for consistently or constant cheating on crossovers. Double stepping has its benefits onto assisting in crossovers, like if the player is not familiar or finding it difficult to naturally sight read, I don't know how you guys pronounce it, the crossover sections on a particular chart and still needs proper studying and practice on those sections. The second reason would be to keep your balance, i.e. to keep your body facing towards the screen on unfamiliar charts of crossovers that you still have to study to avoid body hesitations and tripping yourself over on those charts that you're still getting the hang of. The third reason would be certain sections on a chart that have crossovers, but those crossovers have the intention towards the player to execute a double step, because it is hard to tell will attacking these certain crossovers properly be practical. The fourth reason would be MA advantage, especially if you're playing with turns like left or right. By improving your double steps to execute them more swiftly and accurately without your feet making a slight drag, rushing, or delay, to avoid getting a lot of fast or slow indicators on the perfect window and possibly on other lower judgment windows. The fifth reason would be preserving your energy on certain crossover sections on a chart to avoid depleting your energy instantly. Honestly, the only way that you're going to see yourself overcoming various crossovers is if you practice them. Like, literally practice them. But looking at the terminology practice, it really goes deeper than what we all think. Today's video will be highlighting 7 methods that you could give a try onto studying crossovers. However, please take note that these methods are subjective. I'll be sharing you all my personal tips that had assisted me getting this far, but I'm still learning, with my crossover proficiency throughout my past dance gaming years. As dance gamers, we're all going to have different study methods, advices, tips, and pathways onto truly mastering DDR techniques. So I thought about initiating onto making this video to help DDR players to create their own study method for crossover studies, with myself contributing guidelines as a tool to use. I'd also like to encourage you all to share your personal tips and advices that had or have helped you to overcome crossovers by discussing about them under the comments on this video. I'd really like to make this video together with all the comments from various dance gamers with different inputs about improving on crossovers to be the beneficial source for new, intermediate, and experienced DDR players to easily access information resources to try out, help, and educate each other with our struggles and study tips in learning about crossovers and eventually overcoming them. Subjective terminology I use here, but just to remind you quickly that crossover proficiency is basically having the natural ability to pivot a crossover position without mental or physical hesitations. Predominantly for players that are still on their early stages on their crossover progressions, but this also applies to intermediate stages as well. They usually have times of mini series of forgetting to try and adapt that natural movement of performing a crossover with a body twisting formation and have moments where they would interrupt their current position with doing double stepping incorrectly. This is a matter for players to start taking small steps by training crossover charts with various of crossover structures, shapes, with slower BPMs, to get consistent improvements of pivoting your body naturally to a point that you don't even think about it so hard or you use too much of your brain capacity, just for the sake of achieving the naturality of pivoting your body whenever you attempt a known or a sight-read DDR chart. That's what I mean by the terminology crossover proficiency. Before you even dare do charts like exotic, ethnic, expert, Afronova expert, you name those popular charts, alright? First off, maneuver yourself on old school DDR charts with slower BPMs. Like, trust me, there's a lot of old school awesome charts that have really quality crossovers. Like, damn. To work on your pivoting naturality in attempting crossovers and keep building up on your BPM and on more songs on various DDR series onwards, both old school and modern charts. Also keep improving. Well, mostly you have to play those old school charts on Stepmania since most of those old DDR songs are unavailable on our today's DDR series. Here are some old school DDR charts that you may try out through your progress. Well, I haven't played old school DDR for a long time, so don't mind me of forgetting a lot. But please also take note that once you get to natural habits that you can do faster crossovers from your past development onwards, please don't always lean on practicing fast crossovers or you will tempt to struggle to hit slower crossovers precisely. It's the same concept alike with timing on DDR. If you devote on timing faster charts more and pay less attention to slower charts, you will have a difficult time maintaining your constant MA attack with gimmicks at a slower BPM. So learn how to make a balance between fast and slow BPM crossover charts to improve your development. Obviously, seeing a chart that you're still struggling with for a few times overnight isn't going to assist you in any way to improve your skills, especially if it involves crossovers. Studying to improve your crossovers requires a lot of home studying, like watching YouTube videos elaborating about these particular charts of crossovers, home training, and etc. There are quite a couple of YouTube channels, mainly everyone uses Yuisen's YouTube channel, that post chart sequences, majority with claps, so that you can make your own couple of notes and studies on certain sections on particular charts. Usually, if a chart is quite difficult to understand on the first try, or even a couple of tries, players would refer to the YouTube video about that particular chart, play that video on slow motion if needed, and try to comprehend that chart fully by baby steps. But I got a question for you all. How do you study to build a proper muscle memory for you to understand various charts that DDR throws at your face with reference on either watching YouTube videos or playing on autoplay on Stepmania to revise that chart? Well, let's go for another detour on muscle memory tips. You can suggest more, since this is subjective, to enhance your studies on crossovers when watching crossover charts being autoplayed on YouTube videos or Stepmania. Number 1. Using your hands or your feet to walk it out when you put your charts on slow motion using videos or Stepmania. Basically, you can put a crossover chart on slow motion on YouTube videos, or lower your rate mod on Stepmania, Simply Love, and use your hands to walk out the chart and see the directions of where your hands are going. It will be exactly the same procedure when you do it with your feet. Some players would prefer to do this method by actually using their feet instead of their hands to make more practical sense. But say like you're at school and you're sitting on a chair and the teacher is gone, or you're at work and your boss isn't around, or you're going on your first date and your partner is boring. I don't even know what I'm saying. So you can take this advantage of time to revise those charts by using your hands and make that time beneficial for you to understand the charts. Number 2, note-taking. Okay, say like for example that you've done the walk it out method by either using your hands or your feet, and you want to store all of that information you got somewhere. You can store all your notes by doing this. If you're a person who likes to journal, then you can start journaling for dance gaming studies physically on a journal book or electronically on any device with a notepad. You can either use visuals, like drawing a section of a chart and labeling specific parts within that section, with your notes taken by referring to time intervals from YouTube videos about that chart. You can do that. Or you can just simply journal down, even without visuals, in a detailed form referring to the time intervals on YouTube videos about how to perform that crossover pattern on that specific section. Just write it in a way that your information gathering can create a long-term memory for you to recall whenever you play the chart. This method is quite beneficial. Not everyone will get into it though, so this is optional. Number 3. Make a poster. You guys are probably wondering why I have so many posters about sections on certain DDR charts on my bedroom wall. It's actually supposed to be a get on the go reminder for me to take a peek at the poster quickly before I perform that particular chart entirely at home or at the arcade. Only do this method where in certain charts you're still making that same repetitive mistake on and it's just not helping, and it's now time to take action to end this repetition of your mistake and finally defeat it. Make your posters summarize as possible. You can add visuals if you'd like to if necessary. In your summarized posters, you can only put short paragraphs and or keywords to remind you instantly. Remember, it's a get-on-the-go reminder you want this poster to assist you on. Not only that you can do this poster method for crossover charts, you can do it for any technique that you see in DDR within charts that you may see. Like for example, like what I've done with Ace for Aces on challenge, that very dense part, I can barely read it. That's one thing. Like, I can barely read it on the first try. So I decided to make a poster about it, about these arrows, so I could be able to see them and then just take a peek and then get on the go. Only do this method on charts that you are just severely struggling, but you're gradually trying to implant. It's happening. It's happening. That the action is taking, that you're gradually trying to implant a muscle memory. And once you've gained that muscle memory, see now if you can play that chart without looking at the poster. Then you'll be able to master the chart. That's one way that helped me personally. Number 4, record yourself. Yeah, this is a really handy tool, especially for my hashtag baby feet team. Ow! Where are all my size 1s? Where are all my size 1 babies? Guys, I'm a size 4. I'm joking. Everyone struggles in crossovers regardless of your feet size. Let's talk about the up arrow. Anyway, recording yourself can also be beneficial to moderate yourself on how you perform your current sessions. Say like for example that you're missing certain arrows during a particular crossover stream and you're kind of curious about if you're actually hitting that panel, like during that stream attempt, or did you just unfortunately missed it and stepped somewhere else? It happens, I skis. So this can help you identify on how are you going to alert yourself to hit that crossover section properly. Like, hit that panel, man! And start taking adjustments for your next attempt, like bending your lower body a bit more to reach the panel you've been missing during that crossover stream, and etc. And if you're still struggling to understand ways to improve your crossover studies, you can watch other players' gameplays on performing those charts that you're still trying to get, or you can watch chart breakdowns from various players and let them elaborate on how you execute certain sections that have crossovers. Or you can speak towards the dance gaming community on various dance gaming groups via social media for assistance, like making a post on the DDR Plus ITG group on Facebook. Or you can talk to a close friend who's also a dance gamer if you're a shy person, who already understands that section of the particular chart that you're still trying to understand. For goal settings, you need to know factors do you want to work on in relation to crossovers. Like for example, certain structures, shapes of crossovers, like you want to improve on your Scoobies, or you want to improve on your crossover drills, or you want to improve complex crossover applications, or you want to improve irregular crossover or cross-unders. What I mean by irregular crossovers or cross-unders, it's those type of crossovers that you find in Go for the Topping Challenge and also in Tohoku Experts. Those ones. I'm showing you the pictures. Yeah, those ones. I call them irregular crossovers, cross-unders, because you don't execute them how you normally would. That's what I mean. Or you want to work on certain BPM improvements on crossovers generally, or a specific crossover structure. Like you want to improve doing Scoobies at 170 BPM. Or you want to work on the crossover standards does a certain DDR level give? Like, you want to work on crossovers in terms of DDR18's application standards, or you want to work on DDR17's, 16's crossovers, something like that. So basically, factors like those I had listed above are factors that you want to work on in relations to crossovers, and this list can go on because it's up to you on what you actually want to work on to improve your crossovers. So you need to be realistic towards yourself, creating your own personal time frame to work on any factors of crossovers you want to improve. You can try this though. This is subjective. You can first work on factors separately and then gradually start intertwining the factors to see now if you can apply most or even all of them as one huge concept in relation to crossovers. Make use of analyzing on how far you came from with your crossover progressions. Honestly, this topic is pretty hard to explain because itself is just entirely subjective. Like, we all construct our goals differently. Like, we all don't think the same. So obviously we'll have different goals and different pathways on how we're going to be able to master crossovers. So all that I can say to you is that always be realistic, analyze, monitor, and keep on creating short and long-term goals for your crossover journeys. I'd like to hear all your goals that you have to improve your crossovers. You can add them on the comments below so that everyone can also share their goals, and then we can just discuss together. Training only in arcades isn't going to be the antidote to work through your crossover goals on DDR, especially if you're in your early stages on crossovers. You should also consider practicing at home. Consistency is key on to gradually seeing change in your dance gaming journey, and you should create your own consistency. Everyone's definition of consistency is subjective, so be true to yourself on how much time do you need to fully understand dance gaming concepts generally through gradual steps. Dance gamers alternate to ITG as their home practice by manipulating their Stepmania theme to Simply Love as our ITG today. ITG has evolved throughout the years, thanks to the ITG community, to a point that it is now online based. You can use ITG to work on various dance patterning styles and techniques, especially the fact that you can practice for free, so it's worth the time and financial investment to do more of the progressions at home and more of the tweaking at the arcade. So, for working on crossovers at home, not only that you can study DDR charts through ITG just to get a strong muscle memory on those crossover charts to become more fluent on them when you attempt them at the arcade. Get yourself involved in the ITG Tech community and be involved on activities such as the ECFA, Everyone Can FA, I suppose, and many more. You have dance gamers that are taking their time to make resourceful videos explaining complex charts of crossovers on ECFA. And you can chat with the ITG Tech community on various social medias on how to execute different forms of crossovers to improve your crossover abilities. Unless if you're like me and you're not so visible in the ITG Tech community because you have your own reasons. I'm just scared. Oh my goodness, but I have to stop being scared. There are gazillions of packs being made by hundreds of amazing step charters that you can give a try that involve crossovers or whatever patterns you want to improve on. You guys can suggest me packs on the comments below with the links as well with crossovers, and I will add your suggestions on the descriptions. It's quite pretty much a recommendation most players suggest towards other players on their early or intermediate stage on crossovers. I guess learning doubles is beneficial in a sense that it's for yourself. Getting used to the natural habit of pivoting your body for improvements on crossover attempts on singles play. Doubles itself does involve a lot of pivoting, especially when moving from one side to another. This isn't really a necessity to get into doubles for the sake of crossovers, but it's quite a beneficial detour that you can take on helping your crossover progressions on singles in the long run, even if this technique is optional. Personally, for me, it did help me in some way to improve my crossover proficiency, even if most of my doubles play live was mainly coming from my PIU live. The purpose of choosing turns for DDR charts is to find a direction that feels comfortable for you to outperform them. Like say for example that you prefer playing healing division on challenge on mirror instead of playing the chart by its original pattern. Turns can really be beneficial for enhancing your performance on choosing a comfortable direction on intense crossover sections, especially for itself being a tournament advantage that you can use. Well, only if these tournaments do allow the use of turns though. I don't know if you guys think the same thing about something that I'm going to tell you just right now, but hear me out. Well, do you know that turns can help you identify which body direction between facing left or right is your strongest crossover direction and which one is your weakest crossover direction by in terms of which body direction do you prefer or find the most comfortable to attack? Let me explain this to you in this way. Okay, I'm going to use the common crossover structures to explain this, which are the pictures below. Let's use the previous example about what if you prefer playing healing division challenge on mirror than the original pattern. Referring to that, it just means that you're more comfortable on attacking those crossovers going in that direction, which is mirrored, than those directions, which is the original pattern. Okay, this entire example can be argued, like say for example, if you were to include BPM influencing this example. Maybe you would attack crossovers alike the original pattern of healing division challenge better if it were at a slower BPM. And there can be many more factors to also bring effects to this example, but let's just put those factors aside for now. However, turns shouldn't also be another getaway by only adapting your comfort zone with the directions that you're more comfortable attacking a crossover section and not drilling to improve the directions that you're not really comfortable with. Just because you find healing division on challenge easier on mirror doesn't mean you should avoid practicing charts alike healing division's original patterns to gradually improve your weakest directions. Always be committed to work on your weakest and strongest crossover directions, but lean more onwards into making time and effort to your weaker directions for them to become your new strengths. Y'all know, especially when you hit towards DDR17's and onwards, it's going to be a bloody trolling war towards your physical abilities with faster streams, vigorous jumps, and to put the cherry on the top, that's where life starts with crossovers. That calls for your physical fitness to be paid more attention. You'll need to improve and maintain a peak of your utmost physical abilities, like your strength, your stamina, your foot speed, and your endurance, to be able to make DDR17's charts and harder ones more comfortable for you to play on. Physical strength fitness is a very subjective topic towards all players. So I'd like to hear from you all on what you do to improve and achieve your peak of your physical abilities so that other players can learn various methods from you to help them create their own craft onto improving their own physical fitness. Well, with my story with physical fitness, growing up throughout my teens, I've always been a sporty girl, so I used to do seasonal athletics, mainly track, for 6 years and then I retired. I do basic strengthening exercises for my upper and lower body. And also I had tried mostly adapting on playing DDR 17s to 19s to get to a point that I can play those levels without having intense muscle cramps afterwards and making my DDR 17s my warm-up. So when I immediately start a session, I always play DDR 17 because it's easy for me right now to play that way. So my sporty life personally had played a role in helping me with my physical improvements. Challenge yourself to create that habit on easily adapting on certain DDR levels to become as a new warm-up session to assess how strong your physical ability is and keep on playing a lot of harder charts. If you can warm up DDR 17s on the first go, then that's a huge milestone. Also, more onto physical strengthening. It is crucial in your long-term run for your DDR career, in fact all dance gaming careers, to work on your muscle strengthening and your ligament strengthening. Because if you don't take care of your body muscles and your body ligaments after vigorous sessions, you will be prone at risk of facing prolonged and possibly permanent injuries. Rehabilitation is as most important as your training life. Please always take rehab seriously and treat your body with physical care. Also, have you guys ever thought about this, or is it just me? But hear me out. Okay, you guys know what I mean by not all meals are going to benefit you on having a good session because you don't want your body to feel bloated in a way, like it's difficult for you to train compared to when your body feels light to move around. For some players, it's either they don't eat at all for preparing a session, or it's either they take specific snacks or small meals before attending their session. For the ones that take specific snacks or small meals, have you ever noticed somewhere about those meals that you had tried that had made you feel good and light in resulting to make you have a wonderful session? Here's some of the meals that work for me before I start my session. Sometimes I'd go to a session without eating. It really depends on how I feel. Once again, this topic is subjective for all players, so enjoy finding your own magic meals that help you to have a good session. You guys should all know this, but I'm going to say it. Always eat a balanced meal throughout on a daily basis, even if you're not having a session. Eat well, with all the nutritions having to play an important role within your body. Energy preservation. It basically means how do you play to achieve maintaining your energy throughout harder charts without tiring yourself halfway or when you attack energy draining sections. Honestly, this is a very difficult topic to explain at its simplest form. Basically, it's like you have to do tricks and or techniques that can help you conserve your energy to perform intense crossover sections with minimal effort that are energy efficient and making you play comfortably throughout. Do these tricks and or techniques in a way that it makes your body not hold so much weight to avoid yourself pushing and eventually draining all your energy. Achieve the feeling of your body being light when you're drilling through vigorous crossovers. Here are some examples of energy preservation techniques and or tricks. Number 1, I had mentioned about double stepping earlier that it can be a handy tool for various things, including conserving your energy, but do your double stepping properly so that your MA doesn't troll you. But don't use double stepping as a getaway. I had heard from some players that they attempt to let go one arm, but most players would reposition their arms at a certain angle on the bar for relief purposes by reducing weight from their body to attempt vigorous crossovers comfortably. Number 3, having a straight posture or a little bit tilted when you play for energy preservation purposes. Any way on how you position your posture that feels comfortable and energy efficient for you works. But don't break your back. But obviously you immediately identify if your posture positioning is draining your energy and it is hurting you.
Baddest DJ on 2 turntables.
Man, I'm beat up. Now it's up to you on how you're going to path your own craft throughout your crossover journey, but just so you know that you're not alone on this hurdle. You got the whole community welcoming you with open arms to guide you mastering your struggles on crossovers in your own way. In future, I'm planning on starting to create a series about TC19's DDR studies, on just sharing my thoughts about DDR concepts that I had learned or still learning, and also educate our DDR community, especially new players coming into our community nowadays. Thank you so much for watching this documentary and see you guys soon. Bye!